So I was about to start working on the egghead videos that I had recorded, just editing them, and I just started feeling a little lonely. So I don't really care whether people actually watch or anything, but I don't know why, but I feel like I want to be live streaming while I am doing this. And so feel free to chat, and I'll check out the chat every now and then, but this may not be super interesting, and I don't blame you if you don't watch this one. But yeah, here I am. I'm going to edit some egghead videos. And actually, I figured out how to use loopback. So let me get loopback up. And we're going to, here, I'm going to rename this. We're going to call this computer sounds. And we'll just keep on adding. I don't even know what this pass-through thing is. Hopefully I guess, should I delete it or turn it off maybe? I don't know. And then we'll add green flow. And yeah, so now when I go, we're going to need a body. And then inside of here, we're going to have a div with an ID. So that'll be nice. Let me fix this. Rename. Can I rename this thing? Rename. Computer sounds. And I guess with this, I could probably foresee myself wanting the terminal. So if it goes like and the Visual Studio and Finder, I guess. There we go. All the computer sounds, everything I hear, and this pass through, I guess we'll do that too. Of root. And that's where our application is going to be mounted. I can't really tell, but I think that's about as loud as I'm talking. And our type for our script is going to be text. So yeah, maybe I'll bump it down just a little bit so that my volume of my microphone is a little louder than the sounds. JavaScript, maybe a little bit further down. Whoops. And then inside of here, we need to get access. Yeah, maybe a little bit more. To this div. There we go. So now I'm quite a bit louder than that, and you can tell me if that sounds like too quiet or something. But I won't be talking normally when you can hear this stuff too. So, okay, cool. This is mostly just so it's not more boring than it has to be. So here we go. To start, we're going to need a body, and then inside of here, we're going to have a div with an ID of root. Yeah, I know it sounds kind of scratchy when I do that, but I don't need to watch it and listen to it because I know it's going to sound fine. I want to get through this as quickly as possible. So to where our application is going to be mounted, and then we'll have a script, and our Rizwan. The type for our script is going to be text JavaScript, and then inside of here, we need to get access to this div. So I'm going to make a variable called root element. It'll be document.get element by ID root, and then I want to, okay, so that was a mistake right there. Cut that right there, and then I want to append. And then I'm going to take this root element, root. And then I'm going to take this root element and append a child, and we need to append an element to this. So let's create that element with document.create element. We'll make it a div. And then for this element, we want the text. And then for this element, we'll make it a div. Make it a div. And then for this element, we want the text content to be hello world. I don't need that space right there, especially when I'm listening to it fast. If it seems like a short amount of time, it's actually quite a bit of time. So content to be hello world. There we go. I couldn't remember if it was a capital W that I used or not. World. And then just for fun, we'll have the element.class name equal container. So we'll save that. We'll get a refresh here. We should have gotten a refresh here. So we'll save that. We'll get a refresh here. Okay, and I remember there's some problem. So we'll save that, get a refresh here. Here we go. We'll get a refresh here. So we'll save that, get a refresh here. Container. So we'll save that, get a refresh here, and actually we cut that a little bit, and over container. So we'll save that, get a refresh here, and oh no, we don't want it to say worlds though. So we'll oops. Go container. So we'll save that and get a refresh here, and now we have hello world. And if we look at the output, we have one thing from that browser sync, but then here is our application at the root. And that's the div we created with the class name of container and the text content of hello world. And then here's our JavaScript code that we wrote. And I think that's all I really need to say. So in review, to create code that we wrote. So in review, to create a user interface, code that we wrote. So in review, to create a user interface in JavaScript, you need to have a place where you're going to Actually, I think I like the video from below, but the audio from above here or from later. So move that over. JavaScript, you need to have a place where you're going to append your JavaScript DOM node. You're going to have a place where you append your JavaScript DOM. Oops. Oh, that was elements. Here. Cut that out. Move this over. You're going to need to have a place where you append your JavaScript generated DOM elements. We're going to get access to that element. That right there. And right here. Move this over here. Actually, it looks like it'll line up pretty nicely there. Created DOM elements. We're going to get access to that element from the from the document APIs. We're going to get access to that element from the document APIs. And we'll just extend that all the way. That element from the document APIs. And then we'll create our own element. We'll add some properties onto that element, and then we'll append that element to our root element. Yep, and that's the end. Okay, cool. That one worked nicely. I'm going to export this. And I've got, let's see. I'm going to go here. Egghead. All my egghead stuff. This one's going to be inners, side. Yeah. Hold on a second. Basically the same thing. Oh, whoops. That's not what I meant. There we go. That's where I want it to go. Export that. And while that's happening, it'll go pretty quick. We're going to open 02. And it's just fascinating to me that my computer is now capable of doing a live stream and exporting at the same time and opening a new thing. And boy, this was a worthy investment. I'm able to do so much more with this stuff. Okay. To use React to create this user interface. We're going to need to have React on the page. And we can get React from npm, but there's a service called unpackage that we're going to use. So if I go to unpackage.com, that will show me how to use unpackage to get any file that is distributed on npm. And it has these files for React. And if I go to that file, then I'll see a minified version of React. So let's go ahead and add some script tags to our page here so that we get React on the page. And with React and React DOM both on the page, I can now create React elements and then use React DOM to render those elements to the page. So I'm going to comment all of this out. And then with React. Okay, so there's some video that I need and some audio that I need. I'm going to chop that. Cut that out. Maybe cut that. Let's find the video. Okay, so it's right here. Here. all of this out. Elements to the page. So I'm going to comment all of this out. Okay, and we're just going to speed this up a little bit. No reason for it to take a while to do all that. Then we can smash these back together. And then use React DOM to render those elements to the page. So I'm going to comment all of this out. And then with React DOM, all of this out. And then with React DOM, I'm going to render my element to the root element. But the element that I provide is not going to be a DOM element that I create with the document. Instead, it's going to be a React create element that I create with React. And the API is not exactly the same as the one that we get with document. We do get the first... Sorry, I got a little distracted. I'm thinking about the way it sounds. And I kind of sound like I don't have over 50 acoustic panels. And like, I guess maybe that is reflecting the my green screen is making it echoey, possibly. Yeah, I don't know. Kind of annoying because I'd spent a lot of time putting those acoustic panels up. Yeah, I probably need some more sound equipment. Honestly, like a amplifier thing that has more, I don't know, fancy stuff. I used to have one of those, but it was too complicated. I maybe need to get back into that. Okay, coming back. Let's just keep going. A DOM element that I create with the document. Instead, it's going to be with the document. Instead, it's going to be a React create element that I create with React. Element that I create with React create element that I create with React. And the API is not exactly the same as the one that we get with document. We do get the first, we do get to exactly the one that we get with document. With document, we do get to specify the element. We do get to specify the type of element as the first argument. But instead of getting the element and attaching properties to it, we actually the first argument, but instead of getting the element and attaching properties to it, we actually create and attaching properties to it, we actually and attaching element and attaching properties to it. Need to tighten things up, move things around. Here we go. Getting the element and attaching properties to it, we actually specify an object as an object. We actually attaching properties to it. Properties to it, we actually specify those properties on creation. Properties to it, we actually specify those properties on creation as an object. And another difference is instead of text content, we specify children. So here we'll specify our children as hello. So here we'll specify our children as hello world. The difference is we specify children. So here we'll specify our children as hello children. So here we'll specify our children as hello world. And then the class name will be a container. And this is going to give me my element, which I will render with React DOM to the root element. So if we save this, we'll get a page refresh, and you may not have even noticed that because it's rendering exactly the same thing that we had before. So if we come down here to root, we'll see our div with the class container and the text content hello world. We'll also see those two script tags that we added to add React and React DOM onto the page, and then our element JavaScript that we wrote to create this user interface. Script that we wrote to create this user interface. So in review, to create raw React elements, no, let's not review yet. So let's take a look. So let's take a look at what this element is. If it's not a DOM node, then what is it? Well, console. Element is, if it's not a DOM node, then what is it? Well, if it's not a DOM node, then what is it? We'll console.log the element, save that, and we'll come over here to our console, and we'll see that we have a $$ type of property that's a simple, and that's just something for React to keep track of what. And that's something. And that's something for React to know that this object is a legitimate React element. We know that the type is a div, and there are a couple other. We know that the type is a div, and there are a couple other properties that are used by React internally, and then this props object is what we passed as our second argument here with the children and the class name. There's something really interesting about this children prop that I want to show you here. So you can write this same thing as a third argument. To React create element. A third argument to React create element by simply providing the value for the children prop. So here we can provide hello world. And those are functionally equivalent. So if we look at the React element here, we look at our props, and we still are getting children is hello world. And then if you provide another element, and then if you is hello world. And then if you provide another element in this, and then if you is hello world. And then if you provide another argument, that will be an additional child. So we can say, comma, goodbye. And then if you provide another argument, that will be an additional child. So we can say, comma, goodbye world. Save that. We'll get a refresh, and we see hello world, goodbye world, and we get our element, and we get our element's props, goodbye world, and we get our element's props to be children as an array. And we can continue going on through children forever and ever, or we could take these and use the children prop directly like this. Specifying it as an array ourselves. And use the children prop directly. We're going to speed that up. Or we could take these and use the children prop directly like this. There we go. Specifying it as an array ourselves. And you'll see that the result here is the same. This also array ourselves. And you'll see that the result here is the same. This also gives us the flexibility. I need to keep that mouse movement right there, so I need to keep that video where it is. But I need that audio to move. Got it right there. Got some stuff going on here. So here I could say React. Here. I move this. At this, find another span. Okay, and we need to find some more video. Of creating additional React elements to be children. So here I could say React. This gives us the flexibility of creating additional. Probably speed this up a bit. Speed this up a bit. And this tiny bit is the same. This also gives us the flexibility of creating additional React elements to be children. So here I could say React.create element. It needs to go a little faster. Means I can slow this one down a bit. Creating additional React elements to be children. So here I could say React.create element span. We could say we want no props for this span, and we want the children for this span, and we want the children to be hello and world. So we have the type of span, the props are null, the children are sometimes I make it hard to edit because I do the motion at a different time from when I do the speaking, and then I have to line them up. Okay, so here we're gonna just chop out big long pauses on the audio, and then we'll chop out long pauses on the video, and then try to match it up as much as we can. And then we'll come over here. Interview is an array of 2 strings. Okay, here we go. Hello and world. So we have the type of span. We have the type of span. So we have the type of span. The props are null. The children. All of this moving around. Come on, Kent. The children are an array of hello and world. If we expand if we expand this, we'll see the children are an array of hello and world. And if we expand this, we'll see props. Okay, I think we managed to get that cleaned up. Children are an array of hello and world. And if we expand this, we'll see props. Oh, you know what? When I was highlighting hello and world right there, that's when I say the children are an array. The props are null. The children are an array of hello. The children are an array. Are null. The children are an array of hello and world. Array of hello and world. Over. Slow this down just a tad. There we go. The children are an array of hello and world. And if we expand this, we'll see props, children, and children is just another React element that itself has props, and that children is an array of 2 elements, is an array of 2 strings. And that children okay, there we go. Props, and that children is an array of 2 strings. In review, to create React elements and render them to the page, you need to include React and React DOM. React for creating the elements, and React DOM for rendering those elements to the page. Then reviews are normally pretty quick and easy to the page. Then we still need to get access to some element that's on the page so we can render our component. So we can render our elements to that. So we can render our elements to that DOM node. And then we create. We still need to get access to some element that's on the page so we can. Okay, so I have this thing where I just like kind of talk through and talk really fast, and then if I make a mistake and start over, then I have to like find a good place to insert my redo, because here I say, so we can render our elements to that DOM node, to some element that's on the page, so we can render our notice like I don't give any breaks, so there's no clean place for me to clean that up. And so what I do sometimes is I'll like go partway through this one and partway through this one where I'm saying the same word, and sometimes that works pretty well. I think right here where I start the word render. Element that's on the page, so let's see what that sounds like. That's on the page, so we can render our elements. Yeah, there's like a little clip. You can kind of barely hear it. That's on the page, so we can render our. That's okay. Some element that's on the page, so we can render our elements to that DOM node, and then we create to that DOM node, and then we create our React elements. And we use React DOM.render to render our element, to render our root element to render our element to the root DOM node. The end. Okay. And good. Okay, sweet. And that is number 2. Support that. And let's open up the next. So open recent 03 JSX. And we can close this one. Our first, bring this one over here, make a big screen, and there we go. Yeah, and this one I re-recorded the end here, so let me, sometimes I'll edit and then remember, oh yeah, I re-recorded this whole thing, I just edited like 2 minutes of footage and I didn't need to. Okay. There's another useful trick. Okay, let's see. So this was back when we had span. That down to JavaScript that the browser can execute using React APIs. Okay, cool. That much. There we go. All right, here we go. Wish me luck. Using React to create elements in this way works out just, but it's not entirely ergonomic, and it's not the way that most of the community uses, which is an HTML-like. Okay, just always gotta find out where I actually start. But it's not entirely, because sometimes I do like several false starts before I get going, and it would be a shame to start editing the first 2 minutes only find out that I actually restarted over again. Using React to create elements in this way works out just fine, but it's not entirely ergonomic, and it's not. See that? But just fine, but it's not entirely ergonomic, and it's not the way that most of the community interacts with, and it's not the way that most of the ergonomic, and it's not the way that most of the community interacts with. It's not the way that most of the community. Not the way that most of the community. Oh, come on. Interacts with, the way that most of the community. There we go. And it's not the way that most of the community creates React elements. Most of the community is using JSX, which is an HTML-like syntax in our JavaScript. So if I were to create this same React element using JSX, I would make it like this. We'll say element is a div, and our is a div, and our children are hello world, and then we have a class name, which is okay, so the audio needs to go about that much. the video is still
And then we
good, so I'm gonna cut the video right here.
hello world.
We're gonna bring it down here. Okay, I've got a kid knocking on my door.
World.
Hold on a second.
And then we
be right back. During the daytime, when you're working in an office or wherever, you're typically going to get interrupted. It happens. It's a very normal thing to do. I would, if I had the choice between where my interruptions are going to come from, I will choose interruptions from my children every single day. I don't really care about how the game went last weekend or whatever from my coworkers. I don't care. But I do care about the pictures that my kids drew, or the thing that they dropped under the tramp, or whatever it is. I'm way more interested in that. So working from home, it's awesome. All right. So our hello world. And then we had a class name, which is a prop. So that'll go as an attribute on our div here with class name container. Container. So if we save that, we'll get a refresh and we'll get a white screen here, and that's because we have a syntax error in our JavaScript. And that's because this is not JavaScript code, this is JSX, and the browser does not understand this natively. So it needs to be compiled. So it needs this natively to something that the browser can from this to something that the browser can understand. Hold on a second. So it needs to be compiled from this just move that a little bit. So it needs to be compiled from this to something that the browser can understand. Okay. And that's where Babel to something that the browser can understand. And that's where Babel comes in. Babel is a JavaScript compiler. Oh, good. That is seamless. Very good. I was worried that there might be some jump with that. And that's where Babel comes in. Babel is something that looks funny when we do that. What the junk? Oh, I know why that happened. Because before, when I was on this screen, I was not full screen. And then I went over to the other screen and I took myself into full screen. And so when I swiped back over, there was everything was pushed up and that hadn't rendered yet, I guess. That's something weird with OS X, I guess, or
and
Mac
that's where
OS.
Babel comes in. Babel is a JavaScript compiler supporting the next generation of JavaScript.
Okay. That is annoying that this is typing out.
Babel is a JavaScript compiler supporting the next generation of JavaScript as well as non-standard features like JSX. So if we go to this try it out.
I don't know if you can hear them, but my kids are going crazy upstairs. There's like thump, 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 thump. Yeah, I can't record during the day very often. Like JSX. So if we go to this try it out, so if we go to this try it out, so if we go to this try it out page and paste, okay, we're gonna go here. So if we go to this try it out page and then go over here and copy our code, page and then go over here and copy our code. Let's get that sped up a little bit. And copy our code. Okay, here we go. Go over here and copy our code and paste it in here. Then we'll see that our code is being compiled to something that's very familiar to us. React create element, the type is div, here are the props, class name is container, and then all of the children come here after. I'm going to record something really quick. Hopefully the noise isn't a problem. And I would recommend that you play around in this playground so that you can get a good understanding of how JSX converts into React create element calls. Understanding how JSX is compiled, will make you more effective at using JSX. Boom. Okay, good. Add that. I don't do that a lot. Oh, shoot. What did I just click? Somebody tell me what I just clicked. It should be here. Did I not save it? I gotta go review the play, what I just played. Effective at using JSX. Boom. Okay. Okay, what did I press? Add to document. Did I hit discard? Oh, it was behind my head, so I can't even tell. Yeah, I can't tell if I hit discard, but it's not showing up here, so I may as well have. That's a bummer. Okay, let's try that again. And I would recommend that you spend some time playing around in this tool, because understanding how JSX is compiled will make you more effective at using JSX. Yeah, that was good. Okay, add to document 02. Oh, that's what the problem was. I saved it to the other ScreenFlow file that I have open. That's okay. Sure, let's add clip directly to timeline. Boom. And we'll set mix to mono, smooth the volume levels. And then inevitably, because this is so much shorter, there's less highs and lows, and so it normalizes it a little louder. So typically when I do something like this, I've got to lower the volume a little bit, and then I've got to listen and pay attention to this. So let's go with that. Typically, tool. Okay, here we go. And then all of the children come here. Okay, this is bothering me. I want that to be up on top. Or maybe I want this above. There we go. I don't know. Children come here after. Hereafter. And I would recommend that you spend some time playing around in this tool. Let's just make sure the volume sounds good. And then all of the children come hereafter. And I would recommend that you spend that actually, of all the times that I've done this, that sounds more smooth than ever. Like it sounds like I said those words while I was actually recording the first time. Very good. Some time playing around in this tool, because understanding how JSX is compiled will make you more effective at using JSX. Typically in your application,
effective at using JSX. Typically in your application, you're going to be using a tool that will compile. Typically in an application, you're going to be using a tool.
Oh yeah, I said this like 12 times.
In a typical application, you're going to, in a typical.
Okay, but I need that video right there. Let's snag that video. And move these over. I don't know what my kids are doing, but they are slamming their feet on the floor upstairs. Sounds like they're in trouble.
Using JSX. In a typical application, you're going to be using a tool that will use Babel to compile JSX to JavaScript for you, but for our purposes, we're going to use Babel. But for our purposes, we're going to use Babel in the browser to get this compiling our JavaScript right here without having to install any other tools. So I'm going to add a script tag here.
Right there. Okay, and I actually need the frames where I go from here to here. So I'm going to drag this down. I'm going to drag this over, and we're going to cut this, put that back. We're going to move this until I can find where the mouse moves. Oh, right there. Okay, so right here. And right there. Okay, cool. But you'll notice that it's way more frames than I have room for. So we're going to just find each individual place where the mouse is moving. See, look at that. I know better than that. Okay. Okay, cool. So we stick that right there. That's just a couple frames.
To JavaScript for you, but for our for you, compile JSX to JavaScript.
Okay, and then bring this guy over. Get rid of that, move that back.
To JavaScript for you, but for our purposes.
There we go, that works. Okay, now that video is going to be nice and clean. Nobody will know except for the people who watch this live stream right now or after.
Using JSX. In a typical application, you're going to be using a tool that will use Babel to compile JSX to JavaScript for you, but for our purposes, we're going to use Babel in the browser to get this compiling our JavaScript right here without having to install any other tools. So I'm going to add a script tag here. And jump right there. Script tag here. So I'm going to add a script tag right here. So I'm going to add a script tag here.
Right there. I think the audio was fine. So we're going to move some of this stuff around. Move this over. And then move this over.
Any other tools. So I'm going to add a script tag here to include Babel standalone, and that will compile any Babel standalone, and that will compile any Babel standalone, and that will compile any script tag that to include Babel standalone. Babel standalone, and that will compile any script tag that has the type of text Babel, and then it will create a text Babel,
And then it will create a new script tag with the compiled code with the type as text JavaScript so that the browser can evaluate it. So with that, if I save this, we'll get Babel downloaded. It will evaluate It will evaluate our JavaScript. It will compile our JavaScript. And allow the browser. We'll get Babel downloaded. It will compile our JavaScript and allow the browser to evaluate it so we can use JSX, and allow the browser to evaluate it. So we can use JSX in the browser. We'll also get this warning that we're using the in-browser Babel transformer, which is not something that you would want to do in production, but it makes it really easy for us to iterate quickly right here in this index.html file. I need to tighten that up. Those phrases should be said right together. To iterate quickly right here in this index.html file. And if we take a look at the elements, hold on a second, I'm going to pause here really quick. Okay, cool. All right, so coming back here, HTML file. And if we take a look at the elements, we're going to see the Babel JavaScript. Oh, it's kind of satisfying seeing the quality content being made. Yeah, it's kind of fun. It's you watch the end product and you're like, wow, this is really good. Kent must be a super good coder and never make mistakes. Nuh-uh, not so, my friend, not so. Not so at all. I make many mistakes. And if we take a look at the elements, you can visualize my mistakes right here. Woo! And if we take a look at the elements, we're going to see the code that we wrote. Okay, so right here, we're going to see the code that we wrote in this text. Okay, so that took me too long to move to. We're going to between those. Right. We're going to see here where I stop moving the mouse. We'll delete that and find the code that we. Okay, well, in the next place I move the mouse. There we go. And extend this way and this way. Guess we only need the one way, and then just find where that mouse move happened. Oops. Almost there. Yeah, I think there's like a tiny little mouse move right there. My goodness. Well, that doesn't matter all that much. Right. That click is what I want. Okay, we're going to do that. Code that we wrote in this text. Okay. You know what? Actually, that transition isn't all that important. This one where we open it up. That's where it's important. And when we scroll down, pick that up there. That's been promoted. And right here where I start moving. And there we go, that's smooth. Boy, sometimes I make it really hard for me to edit this. Sometimes I don't really care if I'm jumping around, but other times I think it's important to
the elements.
Make it look
We're going to see the code that we wrote in this text Babel script. And then if we go to the head, we'll see a new script tag in here, which is the compiled version of our code.
Isn't that cool? I think that's cool. Thanks, Babel.
Of our code.
Yeah, and there's a bunch of JSX tricks that I want to show too. This video is already kind of long. Yeah, and there's a...
Now I want to show you a few tricks.
All right. It was only 2.5 minutes at this point, so we were good. I think this is going to be fine.
Compiled version of our code. Now I want to show you a few JSX tricks that you'll find pretty useful. So if we wanted to create a variable for hello world and we wanted to interpolate that variable's value into the children position, then I'm going to go ahead and copy this. We'll make this our children. And then we'll this our children. And then we'll come in here, and to interpolate, we're going to use curly braces and put children in here. And anything in here. And anything you put between these two curly braces can be a JavaScript, and whatever that expression evaluates to.
Okay, and here.
Curly braces can be a JavaScript expression, and whatever that expression evaluates to is the value that gets placed into this position for the React create element call. This position for the React create element call. So we can do the same thing for our class name call. So we can do the same thing for our class name. So we can do this. So we can do the same thing for our class name.
I liked it better the other way.
Element call. So we can do the same thing for our class name. If I copy the container, make a class name variable, and then in
okay, so
I copy the container
right there, and we'll crop that out, make that a little tighter, and put those together.
Copy the container, make a class name.
I missed that.
Variable. If I copy the container, make a class name variable, and then instead of the quotes here, we'll put curly braces to suggest to the Babel compiler that we want this value.
It's Jason Brown! Wait, you can do the same thing for the class name? Yes. Wait, I don't know what your question is.
The Babel compiler that we...
Are you mocking me? I don't know. Maybe I misunderstand what you're asking. And we're about like 15 seconds apart, so if you're commenting on something you're watching right now, then that was 15 seconds ago for me, so I'm out of context now.
Suggest to the Babel compiler that we want this value to be evaluated as an expression, and then we'll pass the class as an expression, and then we'll pass the class name variable, and if we save this, name variable, and if we save this, then we'll get the exact same result as we had before. And you can see
so right here where I said, and you can see, I paused for a long time because I was trying to think how else would I say that so that it's not exclusive to blind people. And then I was evaluating whether that was necessary because this is a video. And then I was evaluating like, wait, but we have transcripts. I don't know. And then I just gave up. I never know what to say when I'm doing video or conference talks, and yeah. Try to be more inclusive. At least I'm thinking about it.
As we had before. And you can see the compiled.
Okay, so I want to keep this video, but the audio needs to be moved. So let's go down here, chop that, move this over, and line things up a little bit better. Jason was saying, why does Kent keep repeating that line?
Before. And you can see the compiled version of the code here in our script tag.
Oh, because you're listening to, yeah, you can't tell whether it's me talking. I guess you can see my lips or the video because it's both my voice. Ah, that's funny.
In our script tag. And you can see the compiled version of the code here in our script tag. Compiled version of the code. And you can see the compiled version of the code here in our script tag, where we see we have our children.
Okay, there's a bump right there. Why did I scroll up and down and up and down?
We have our children is a very where we see we have our children.
Let's see what happens if I move this down here.
Where we see we have our children is a variable.
That worked out.
Our class name is a variable. Our element is an assignment. Our element is an assignment to React create element with our div, and then our object where we have class name being assigned to the variable class name. And we could rename this to whatever we want. We could say my class name. I just want that typing to be more smooth. We could say my class name.
Okay, we get rid of that. And we want the video from right here. Okay, there we go. Match that.
We could say
okay, bring this over here. Right there. There we go.
Name. We could say my class name.
I actually like that audio better.
We could say whatever we want. We could say my class name. We could say my class name.
Good. We can speed that up probably. Boom. Let's see what that looks like.
Whatever we want, we could say my class name and then copy this and paste it in there. And if we save this, we'll get a refresh. And there it is. My class name is being assigned to the class name property of our object here. Class name property of our object here. And then
I think this will be smoother.
Property of our object here. And then children is the same.
Okay, that needs to be sped up probably, and it'll look nice.
To the class name property of our object here. And then children is the same.
Okay, actually, instead of speeding it up, let's just cut out the part where I'm not doing anything. Then we'll move this over.
Class name.
In fact, I wonder if we just move it out this way.
Is being assigned to the class name property of our object here. And then children is the same thing. So we could say my children. We get a refresh.
Oh yeah, whoops.
We could say my.
Oh, I need that video. Dang it. Come on, Kent. Why did you make this hard to edit?
So we could say my children. We could say my children. Children is the same thing. So we could say my children. We say my children. Save that. We get a refresh. And there it is. My children being passed as my children. So when you use the curly braces, that's basically telling Babel, leave this alone and pass it directly as the property that you pass for the props here and for the children arguments here. And if we wanted to split these up, then we could do so with, if we wanted to split these up, then we could do so with world child and do, boy, lots of dead space here. Probably doesn't matter. Child and do world child. Except you gotta spell it right, but I think I say that. Put them side by side just like that. World child. Put them side by side just like that. And we'll get my children and world child. Except it's not rendering. What? Except to get world child. Just like that. Just like that. And we'll get my children and world child. Except to get it to render, you actually need to spell things correctly. That's really important in programming. There we go. Okay, sometimes that little bit of humor is worthwhile. Okay, there we go. Again, anything between these curly braces, again, anything, there we go. Again, yeah, I gotta stand up, hold on. Okay, there we go. Again, anything between these curly braces is game. So I could make curly braces and do a template literal and then say hello. Kind of wondering if this part should just be totally cut out. It just has an additional argument to it. It's really expressive. The way that, oh man, I wish that I'd cut that. Yeah, I want to get rid of all this, all that template literal stuff. So I could, there we go. So if we want to add another React element, here, actually, what is, there's another, there's, so if we want to add another React, my goodness, I keep on swiping over. Here, can I turn that off? Do not disturb. Come on. I just got a text. Woo! Oh yeah, got it. Yeah, I've got something going on in a few minutes. Great. Be up in a second. Okay, I gotta wrap this up. I will not finish this one. I will just save it, but I do want to finish my thought. So I wanted to move this over with the way that we're building our UI. So if we want to add, nope, not my need. Come on. And this allows us to be really expressive. Here we go. So I want these words, but I can't have that video. I do a freeze frame or something. See what this does. And this allows us to be really expressive with the way that we're building our UI. So if we want to add another React element in here, all we need to do is add a span. We can say hello. This is the worst. Span, and then we. You know what I'm gonna do right here? Okay, I've got to do this really quick. I'm gonna do freeze frame. We're gonna put this over here. Put this up. Oh, I lost to where the back is. Let's move these over. Make sure those are in line. Yep. Okay. And I'm gonna go all the way until I hit refresh. And here we go. Right there. Okay. Put that. Oh wait, no. There. Then we're gonna do dropping.
Gotta be, there we go, that's it. Okay. We're gonna come over here, zoom that over, this over. You can't even tell. Oh, fantastic. Check this out. Why? So if we want to add another React, yeah, watch that. So you don't even notice. Another React element in here, all we need to do is span. We can say hello, span, and then we can do a strong. I very rarely do this. Like, this is a very rare thing that that I do. Only very rarely, sometimes very rarely. Okay. World strong. We can get rid of these. Save that. And here we go. We get hello. Boom. That looked great. And Babel is managing. Okay, let me just finish this last little bit. We can say hello, span, and then we can do a strong, world, strong. We can get rid of these, save that, and here we go. Save that. Whoop. Save that, and here we go. We get hello, world, and Babel is world, and Babel is managing compiling that down to JavaScript that the browser can execute. That the browser can JavaScript that the browser can execute using React APIs. Okay, we can. Okay, and I've got to go. Okay, save that to APIs. The browser can execute using React APIs. Okay, save. That's yeah, then we're gonna wrap up. Thanks so much for watching. It was fun. Thanks for holding me accountable. I got way more done because I knew that I was accountable to the 4 people watching the live stream. But yeah, we'll see you all later. Probably tomorrow. I'll probably be live streaming again. Peace out.